What's up, Undisputed listeners? It's your boy, Shay Sharp. I've got great news. I'm a finalist for a Shorty Award. Go vote for your boy and make sure I bring this award home. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart for making Club Shay a success.
Welcome to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. We've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from LA. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Good morning, Jenny. How are you today?
Man, USC did to once mighty Kansas last night what I'm about to do to you.
Boy, they be the great subjects. Gonzaga better be on the lookout for them.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, how about that? And how about the Pac-12 right now? Very impressive, to say the least. But, guys, unfortunately, we do have to begin with some more news today surrounding Deshaun Watson. And the news just continues because right now 6 more lawsuits have been filed against Deshaun Watson, including one citing an incident with a massage therapist from earlier this month. The Texans quarterback has maintained his innocence, saying on Twitter that he rejected a, quote, baseless 6-figure settlement demand and that this incident is, quote, about clearing my name, and I look forward to doing that. But now some are speculating the league could place Watson on the commissioner's exempt list while they finish their own investigation. So, Shannon, should the league do that now?
Yeah, Skip, that's a very useful tool. I don't really know how it works in the offseason, Skip. We saw him do this with Adrian Peterson when he was going through his situation.
Yep.
We saw him do it with Ray Rice until they gather more information.
Yep.
Skip, this is not looking good. And if this was a storm, this would be an F4 tornado. This would be a Category 5 hurricane. Because what we have is we have 13 women already alleging inappropriate contact between them and Deshaun, with another 9 on the horizon.
The lawsuits have been filed.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's 13 plus another 9 that's reportedly that's going to be filed. That's 22 different women. This does not look good. Not only does it not look good for Deshaun Watson, it doesn't look good for the NFL. So basically what they should do is just say, look, we're going to take a step back. We're going to say, Deshaun, not that he was going to have contact with the Houston Texans, because from what I've told, he's broken off all communication.
Okay.
So that's not an issue. But until we get a better understanding of what's going on, we're going to ask you to step back, have no further contact. You're not allowed to be around the team. The only question I have, Skip, what about trades? Does this prohibit a trade?
No, it can't.
Right. So, but Skip, this doesn't look good. This doesn't look good for Deshaun. It looks bad for the NFL, and I think they want to get a handle on this to try to find out what's really going on. But I don't know if they're going to be able to deduce what's going on by just these lawsuits being filed. Somebody's going to have to go to court. Somebody's going to have their day in court. And we're going to have witnesses call him. Deshaun's going to probably have to testify in his own defense. And these women are seemingly more than willing to testify. Skip, and you try to do this fair, because the women deserve to have their allegations taken seriously. They deserve to be heard. But in fairness to Deshaun, an allegation is not an admission of guilt. So you try to be as fair as you possibly can. Try to understand both sides. But let me tell you something, people. These women that are coming forward, and Deshaun Watson life will never, ever be the same. Deshaun Watson will never, ever be looked at the same. The women, if this is true, they feel violated and their lives won't be the same. If this is proven to be untrue, they're going to say, you are the woman that tried to bring Deshaun Watson down because of guilt, because of greed. And so, Skip, people's lives are forever changed. But the NFL, Skip, I believe if they were to step in and say, Deshaun, we're going to put you on the commissioner's exempt list. We want you to step back. But because we want to do our own investigation, we want to try to get to the bottom of this to try to get some clarity. But guess what, Skip? Even if they suspend, because at the bare minimum, I think in Article 46, it says a minimum of 6 games. Mitigating circumstances could drive that up or drive that down.
Yep.
For a chance to have Deshaun Watson for 5 years, if he suspended 10 games, he suspended a year. I get Deshaun Watson for 5 years. A team's going to take that.
I hear you. Before I launch on this, allow me to step back for a moment and say, as I've said from the start, I have not enjoyed talking about this story.
No.
I was the biggest Deshaun Watson fan purely as a quarterback on the football field. But obviously, this is becoming a more and more important story that we need to talk about.
Correct.
Because it's a longer and longer line of women who say that Deshaun sexually violated them.
Or displayed inappropriate behavior.
And this is becoming as stunning a story as I can ever remember in my career.
Yeah.
Because as far as I knew, as far as you knew, Deshaun had a spotless reputation. But as you said yesterday, so appropriately, maybe there's a Deshaun we knew and another we thought we knew but don't.
Correct.
Off the field.
Right.
And I hark back to the quote from the superstar attorney that Deshaun hired just as the first lawsuit broke, named Rusty Hardin, who's represented so many star athletes, from Roger Clemens to Adrian Peterson, you name it.
Rudy Top, Jonathan
Michael Bennett.
Yeah. And big corporations.
Yes, big corporations. In his first quote, this was after only one lawsuit had been filed, "I'm real comfortable with the kind of person that Deshaun Watson is. He has a great reputation here in Houston, and the allegations are really inconsistent with the kind of person he is, or the kind of person we thought he was." So I hark back. The Tiger Woods scandal. It was about rampant cheating on his wife, but obviously the sex was all consensual sex.
Correct.
And then I think of the two Ben Roethlisberger incidents for which he got suspended. I think of the one Kobe incident in question. We all know what happened there. I think of Ezekiel Elliott back in 2017. His girlfriend at Ohio State accused him of domestic violence.
Right.
2 police departments had investigated and found no cause to charge him.
Right.
The NFL investigated, and their lead investigator decided that her testimony was inconsistent. And that
Kia Roberts, I think, is her name.
Yeah, and she lost her job over this because she basically
defied the NFL.
She stood up and said, "No, I don't see it."
Right.
Lisa Friel is the head of that arm of the NFL and said, "We must act here." And even though Zeke won the first round of court, he was finally forced to sort of swallow it all and just take it. And the NFL pointed out that he did have one incident in question when he was standing on a rooftop during a St. Patrick's Day parade, and he reached over and pulled down a woman's top.
Right.
It was how bad that looked.
Correct.
And that was the camel that broke the straw that broke the camel's back.
And Skip, that was the thing. The NFL says, well, hey, if you do this in public, what?
Yeah, what?
It's fair to us to make the leap
So
that you
it just looked bad.
It did.
And he took 6 games, a six-game suspension. So to your point, we're up to 13 and counting lawsuits filed.
Correct.
With details in each lawsuit. And I know Deshaun's agent had suggested that maybe there's some fabrication going on here. But after a while, you just sit back and it just overwhelms you. The mountain of this building, growing mountain above us all. And Pro Football Talk wrote that it's getting more and more difficult to downplay or explain away the situation, which I agree with. It's become a significant distraction for the league, which I agree with.
Correct.
And at some point, the sheer volume, says Pro Football Talk, of the allegations overpowers the situation. So now there is the exempt list. It's a very broad power that the NFL retains through every collective bargaining negotiation, where you can just say, well, we'll continue to pay you, but all of your activities with your team are suspended.
Correct.
So the shock to me is that Pro Football Talk goes so far as to say the question then would become whether the Texans would simply cut Deshaun Watson to avoid owing him the salary that he wouldn't be allowed to earn. We just went from me saying, okay, listen, forget about all the off the field, just on the field. In the history of this game called professional football, the National Football League, there has never been a more valuable property on the market, potentially on the. We think he's on the market.
Correct.
Because Deshaun is so young and so proven that now we've swung all the way in a matter of a week to, would they consider cutting him? And then it would depend, would another team then, they wouldn't even have to give 3 first-round picks or whatever it was.
Skip, how do you go from 3 first-round picks and 2 young players to being released? That's not happening.
Well, I don't think it is, but that's the magnitude of this situation.
Right.
And Pro Football Talk concludes that this would create a major PR hit for any team that signs him. And you brought that up yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's unless and until Watson's PR team finds a way to counter the damage that has been done to his overall image in just 6 days.
Well, Skip, one lawyer wants to try this case in the court of public opinion.
Correct.
The other guy wants to try this case in a court.
Okay.
He can't win public opinion currently because of the sheer volume. 13 lawsuits filed, another 9 pending, possibly being filed. So 22, just the sheer volume alone is going to make... Now, if you had one, you're like, okay, I get it. But with 22 possible, people are pausing and saying, hold on, wait a minute.
Yeah,
well,
wait a minute.
So basically all they was doing was getting massages and playing football. Because we're talking about, Skip, basically we're talking about 2020 to 2021. And we're talking about 22 women. So it does not look good. But there, Skip, look, we've seen things that it didn't look good. It's like, oh, yeah, he's guilty or that person's guilty. And come to find out, it's going to be hard to dispel 22 situations. But I think Deshaun Watson deserves to have his day in court.
And I want to reiterate for both of us, we have no idea what did or didn't happen.
Correct.
We know what the allegations are. And we know what Deshaun's response was after the first lawsuit, that I've never had anything but the utmost respect for women. Okay? That was after the first one. Now we're 13 on the way to 22.
Yeah, Skip, look, the women deserve to be believed. But I hope this is not a situation, Skip, where, he's had contact with these women. He's had a relationship that maybe was consensual, and now we see a situation where, okay, because it's just hard for me. Like I said, it's just hard for me to believe because of the volume.
Yes.
But I'm going to take the women at their word. They allege this. I want them to have their day in court. But it doesn't look good for Deshaun.
It does not look good. So almost every lawsuit includes this line. Watson's behavior is part of a disturbing pattern of preying on vulnerable women. I've seen that again and again. So what was most disturbing to me was one of the lawsuits filed yesterday. It alleges that Deshaun and that woman were together, massage therapist and client, just 3 weeks, it's almost 3 weeks ago, on March the 5th in Atlanta. So this happened this month. Tony Busby, the attorney for the women, says that back in February, he first contacted one of Deshaun's lawyers within his camp to inform him of the first lawsuit. And again, they were willing to settle that. So you could say money grab, but they did inform the camp this was coming down the pike. So if that's true, then I would have to then leap to the conclusion that Deshaun knew there was at least one lawsuit coming, and he engaged in the same behavior once again on March the 5th, this month, March the 5th, that precipitated yet another lawsuit against him, where she alleges sexual misconduct. Whoa. Okay, so now I have to at least entertain the notion that he felt he had such privilege, such entitlement, that he wasn't doing anything wrong. That even though somebody was going to sue him for civil damages, he just engaged in the same behavior again with another new massage therapist that he contacted via Instagram.
Skip, look, I'm not a psych, but it's just hard. It's just hard for me to be in a situation and someone says no, and then you go to someone else and they say no, and you continue this pattern of behavior. At some point in time, you're like, you know what? This isn't right. Okay, But Skip, 22. Skip, how do I, Skip, like I said, okay, maybe I can explain one or two. But Skip, how do I look away from 22? 13 and another 9 pending. Skip, how do I look away from that? One car, Skip, if there's a, somebody side of the road with a flat tire, you're like, okay. But a 22-car pileup, you're going to start to see, is everybody okay? Does anybody need assistance? Can I call someone? That's what this is. This is a 22-car pileup.
Remember, we talked the first day, sitting in these seats on live TV about the first lawsuit. Right. And we were concerned. Right. But it still came down to he said that she said. Yeah. And then came the second one, and I said, well, now it's he said that she said and she said. Right. Now
you got 22 she said against what he said.
And I feel for the league now because obviously the league took a hit over Ray Rice, didn't act quickly enough after then the video hit, and it was just so explosive because we saw the punch thrown and connect. And now I feel for the league because he's one of the big stars of the league, but at some point you have to do something because people will start to look to the league to, okay, now what?
Skip, I just feel bad for the league because only in professional sports is it the league's fault. If somebody does something like this at Google or Apple, they don't say Apple is bad. They don't say Google is bad. They say the individual was bad. The individual was flawed. But when it comes to the league, Skip, it's not like this. The league can't keep 24/7 on these guys.
Well, obviously, we put our NFL stars on such pedestals that the Google employee wouldn't be on.
Right. But Skip, it's not Roger Goodell's fault that someone chose to behave in risky behavior.
Right. And right now, we're still in that murky territory of we haven't gone to court yet. Right. And it's going to be very difficult for them to get to the bottom of this quickly.
I don't know, Skip, but here's another point. How does he play until this is resolved?
Just can't, which is why I think we're headed toward the old exempt list. It's just the catch-all. Yeah. It's one place you can go where you're just on hold.
Well, Skip, with this kind of volume, Skip, man, I mean, this thing might go on years.
I would hope the NFL's investigation didn't have to go on for years. But I would bet that he is definitely going to get suspended. And remember, the attorney Busby is now saying, I'm giving packages of information to not only the Houston police, but the Harris County District Attorney. Right. Will they go back through this and decide to file a charge? He's calling for a grand jury investigation. Well, let's see. That could throw a whole nother wrench into this.
Right. Well, it's just.
I mean, many times the NFL has just waited for.
Right.
Either.
But in the previous CBA, the Article 46 says the NFL does not have to wait to a charge. No. They can take precedent, whereas before, Skip,
I agree.
People got upset that the NFL was waiting for the proper, work its way through the proper channels.
Yes.
When they say, well, you the NFL, you should take leadership. Okay, the NFL started taking leadership. Then the people say, well, you should let it run its proper course. Yep. So the NFL can't win in a situation like this. Because if they don't react, you should react. If you do react, you shouldn't have reacted.
And finally, sometimes in these matters, an athlete is so beloved in a city that he or she might get some preferential treatment from law enforcement, maybe kid-gloved a little bit to a fault. But in this case, Deshaun has basically burned his bridge to Houston because he's just saying, I want out.
Right.
So if there was any preferential treatment to be had here, it's going to go the other way.
Yeah, I don't know with this volume of women. Maybe it was one or two, Skip. It's 22 women, possibly, that says that he acted inappropriate or he made me feel uncomfortable or he touched me or he did something that I did not consent to or I didn't agree with.
Yep.
So I don't know how you curry favor in situations like this. And as you mentioned on Monday, we talked about this last week, Skip, is that where we are now.
Yep.
The behavior that was exhibited 10 years, 15, 20, 30 years ago is no longer accepted.
Yep.
No matter how innocent you might think it might be, someone might take offense to that. So you have to be careful, guys. Man, you look really nice. That's a nice dress or that's a nice this. You have to be careful because they say, well, he made me feel uncomfortable. Well, that's where we are now, Skip. So don't say, well, man, I was just caught. That's where we are now. Moving forward, understand that what was accepted or tolerated before is no longer tolerated and accepted now. And just deal with it as it is in 2021.
Deshaun Watson is in a tough spot.
Man, Skip, I feel bad for everybody involved. I really do.
And the numbers are quite staggering, and quite frankly, they're almost hard to fathom that they've gone this high at this point. And the NFL just continues to say that the matter is under review, and we will wait to see what they find with the investigation as well. I'm going to shift gears.
No mercy.
The brand new Fox Sports app is a finalist for the 13th annual Shorty Awards. I love it. I do not download any apps. I simply do not. I'm an old man. I don't know how to use my phone. I don't like apps. I don't like clutter. But the Fox Sports app is so sleek. It has everything you would ever want. So I got it on my phone. You should have it too. You should also vote for us for the Shorty Awards. You can vote in the description below. Vote once a day. Vote for the Fox Sports app. We are a finalist. We need this. Do it, America.
No mercy.
Hey, Undisputed listeners, it's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People's Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we can all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you.
No mercy.
While the Giants continue making moves in the offseason, days after acquiring receiver Kenny Golladay, Big Blue bolstered their defense by signing former Titans cornerback Adoree Jackson to a reported 3-year, $39 million deal. Meanwhile, things remain relatively quiet in Dallas, where the Cowboys haven't done much in the free agent market since signing Dak to his record-breaking extension. So, Shannon, was the Adoree Jackson move by the Giants a big deal or no big deal here?
Skip, can I say I understand why they did it? Considering what Washington has done at the wide receiver position, they have 2 wide receivers now. You upgraded the quarterback position. You look at Dallas and what they have at the wide receiver position with Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup. You see Philly, they may or may not take a receiver. Devontae Smith is right there at 6. Jamar Chase is there at 6.
Agreed.
Him with Jaylon Reagor. So I get why they did it. I just think this was a lot of money for a guy I would consider a second corner. A number 2 corner. Malcolm Butler was the number 1 corner. Malcolm Butler was the guy that traveled. And for a guy to get this kind of money, Skip, with no Pro Bowl, no All Pros, for me, when I watch him play, I just never got the sense like, oh, he that guy. I don't see Jair Alexander. I don't see Marcus Lattimore. I don't see Jalen Ramsey. I don't see that in him. And I think coming out, everybody thought he was going to be that next big deal at the cornerback position. Skip, they released their entire secondary.
Well, 3/4 of it. They did, and I don't know why.
They kept Bird, I think that's the name. Yeah. They kept one guy. I just don't get. So I get why they did it. That's a lot of money.
You get why the Giants did it.
Why the Giants did it. But, Skip, I don't see him as a difference maker. I never saw him as that in Tennessee. Now, maybe he gets with Bradbury, but, Skip, you know when you go to free agency, the expectation level rise. Because you change team, you got a king's ransom, so they expect you to be $13 million corner. And I didn't see it. Tennessee, what I don't get with Tennessee, Skip, Tennessee let him go, knowing that in order for us to get to our ultimate destination, we got to go through Buffalo, we got to go through Kansas City. All of those 3 wide receivers out there, and all 2 have excellent quarterbacks.
Remember, they picked up Adoree's 5th-year option.
Right.
And then one day before the deadline, where it suddenly vests,
kicked in
at $10 million, they cut him. They cut him?
So he lost out on $10 million and went and got $13 a year. He got $16.5 million in the first year, $13.5 to sign $3 million base.
He won that deal.
He won, yeah. He ain't disappointed that.
Nope.
Maybe because I don't know if Tennessee has state. I think Tennessee doesn't have state tax, so he might have lost that going to New York, Skip. But considering that he had no job after Tennessee released him, and go get $39 million over 3 years. He won. But Skip, I get why the Giants did it, but I don't look at it like, oh man, he game changing now. Now maybe Skip, if you look at it from this perspective, the Giants D-line is a lot better than what Tennessee trotted out there. Tennessee couldn't get to the quarterback to save their life. So maybe that made him look a little worse than what he actually is. And maybe with Leonard, big Leonard Williams and those guys rushing the quarterback.
They gave Leonard Williams a ton of money.
And so, Skip,
But remember, Leonard Williams had 11.5 sacks last year.
So maybe, Skip, because it goes hand in hand, pass rush. Corners don't have to hold up as long. Corners really good. The defense get a little extra step to get there. So maybe it pays off. But, Skip, I'm like, okay. If the Giants defense picks up where they left off last year, this would be a great move. It would be a great move, but that's only if.
Shannon Sharp. Unfortunately, I disagree with everything you just said. And I prefaced it with unfortunately because I'm sorry. I have to publicly admit my Cowboys are getting in deeper and deeper trouble.
But Skip, you can't look at it just from your Cowboys perspective.
That's all I care about in the world. I care about my Cowboys perspective.
But they got Dak. That was their big piece of pie.
And I tried to get happy about that. Because at that press conference, Jerry said, and I'm sorry, I got to keep saying it, we still got a big piece of pie. Meaning salary cap pie, because Dak counts only $22.2 million this year. He makes 75, counts only 22.2, and Jerry indicated there's room for maybe 2 significant free agents. Well, obviously, they need to play the other side of the ball, because the other side of the ball was all-time bad last year. And my secondary was the worst in the NFL last year. Is there any doubt about that? It was just simply the worst last year. So I need some firepower. I need a move and a move. And I got Keanu Neal, who's a box safety who will probably play linebacker, who does not defend the pass, who's coming off an ACL and an Achilles tear. And they say they're bringing in Malik Hooker and Kazee, the other kid from Atlanta, both coming off Achilles tendon tears. So what's been the Achilles heel of my defense? Safety. So appropriately, we're bringing in 3 safeties who are all coming off Achilles tears, right? Beautiful. Way to go, Jerry. Is that box office? I don't think so. So I wanted moves. I wanted big moves.
You wanted Adoree Jackson?
Here's what I wanted. I got what Pro Football Focus ranked the 2 best deals in free agency. I got it right here. I wanted John Johnson III from the Rams, or I wanted from the Rams Troy Hill, their slot corner, who became a star last year. And Cleveland went boom, boom, bang, bang, and signed both of them back to back. And Cleveland already had a pretty good secondary to start with, because they got two pretty good outside corners.
Greedy Williams,
pretty good.
Brad Delpit tore his Achilles.
He tore his Achilles.
But Skip, when I asked you about John Johnson.
I thought John Johnson, you brought it up the first day, and I said, he'll cost $15 million. He cost $10 million. They got him for $10 million a year. And Troy Hill, they just stole. Well, why can't we steal somebody where I say, I got a guy. I got a real guy, instead of what Bill Parcells called a JAG, just another guy.
Right.
So all I have to show is an offensive lineman I'd never heard of, and 3 defensive linemen, only one of which I'd ever heard of, Brett Urban, and the other 2 I'd never heard of before, and Keanu Neal, who played for the worst pass defense statistically in pro football last year, one that got torched to the tune of almost 800 yards in the 2 games against Brady. What am I supposed to do with that when I'm an Adoree fan? I adore him. I'm sorry, I did coming out, and again, you hate Pro Football Focus, but I'm going to hang my helmet, if you will, on that website, because they point out that Adoree Jackson has the 4th highest coverage grade since 2018, since his rookie year, when he lines up outside, which is about 86% of the time.
Right.
That trails only Jair Alexander, Richard Sherman, and Stephon Gilmore. So by their grade, something good is happening over there. And I agree that you finally got to the point Tennessee does not rush the passer.
Right.
So they are grading him higher because he's under duress longer, because they don't sack the quarterback.
Think about this. The team that sees Adoree Jackson practice every day, play every Sunday.
I don't get it.
Don't grade him like they did.
They cut Malcolm Butler, too. He's still on the market. I'll take him right now. Richard Sherman's still on the market, by the way. They kept Vaccaro, the safety, who I always had some respect for.
Yeah, I thought he was a decent safety.
Yeah, well, what are they doing? I don't know. I just know what we're not doing. I know what they did. They just, that's not passive aggressive. That's just flat out aggressive. They just said, we're not good enough. Let's start over.
Right.
I don't know why. But the Giants benefited from that because James Bradbury made the Pro Bowl last year. So, okay, if Adoree Jackson is the second corner, I'll give you that.
Right.
It's still pretty good because Jabril Peppers is I'm a big fan. Logan Ryan is really good. And I don't like what he did to Dak, but he didn't mean to do it to Dak. He just yanked him down. It was a front horse collar, but he got him on the ground, and unfortunately, Dak's ankle broke.
Right.
Okay. They're really good. They were 9th in points allowed last year to start with, the New York defense. That's really good. They were tied for 10th in takeaways. That's really good.
Really good.
That'll win a bunch of football games. And then you add that to Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence and Blake Martinez, who's just a football player. He just sticks his nose in everything. Now you've got something.
Yes.
Now you're able to fight the firepower that we have at receiver and that you just point out with Curtis Samuel, Washington has. With McLaurin and Samuel, they got blazers on the outside. And then that William Jackson III, I'm sorry, I didn't watch the Bengals a lot, but every time I turned the game on, he flashed. He just plays, he's a ball hawk corner that they went out and they got him. And they added him to a secondary and got rid of Ronald Darby, who you don't like, who's now with your Broncos. Okay? So did they get better? Well, yeah, they got, Washington got a lot better. And then weapons for Daniel Jones, Galladay, Slayton, Shepard, even Dante Pettis, who made the big catch that should have been challenged by Mike McCarthy. Then John Ross, he can fly, just as an icing on the cake. And Evan Ingram and Kyle Rudolph. They got weapons. So what do we have? Well, to your initial point, we got Dak back in the saddle. I hope he's happy. I hope he doesn't crumble under the pressure to live up to $164 million. But here's all I know. This is what I'm still clinging to, is his overall record is now, Dak's record is 42-27. I grant you his last 17 are 6-11, but he's 42-27 as a starting quarterback in the National Football League. That's plus 15 games. Daniel Jones is 8-18. That's minus 10, under 500. And for what it's worth, Ryan Fitzpatrick, I assume he's going to start for Washington.
Under 500.
He's 58-86-1. So he is 27 games under 500. Never been to the playoffs. Daniel Jones, obviously, never been to the playoffs. Dak at least has played 3 playoff games and won 1.
What about the Eagles? You ain't mentioned the Eagles.
Okay, well, I love Jalen Hurts, and he's just a baby. He's just trying to figure it out. But don't let them get Kyle Pitts. Don't let them get Kyle Pitts, because all of a sudden it's going to be bigger and bigger trouble for me.
Well, Skip, in free agency, what do you have to do? You got to overspend.
Yeah.
So maybe the Giants overpaid. But you don't know, Skip, who else is in the bidding for him. You don't know who else is in the running to sign Adoree Jackson. So, okay, how do I get him into my building and make sure he doesn't leave? And that's what happens a lot of times, Skip. You bring these guys in, and they say, well, I got another visit scheduled for this team, and I got another visit scheduled to that team. Well, I don't want you to get out of here. What's the number? They're on the phone with your agent. What's the number that we can get to make sure he doesn't take those flights to go visit those other teams? This is what we're looking for. Done.
Okay.
He never left the building. Okay. So maybe they overpaid.
Okay, so how much better is the Giants and the Washington defense than Dallas's defense right now?
Exponentially.
Okay, like exponentially. Fox Bet still has the Cowboys as the odds-on favorite to win the East. Okay, I'm good with that. I'm trying to see my glass is 9/10 full, right?
I think, Skip, I think the thing is the way Fox Bet measured it is that Dak is substantially better than all the other quarterbacks in that division.
I got it,
and at
but
the end of the day,
that's where it ends.
Right.
It ends with that, right?
Offensively, they might be better. And you said the quarterback is the difference maker. You can have all the defense you want, but your defense can't overcome bad quarterback play.
No, it cannot. But it's hard for my quarterback to overcome
bad defensive play.
A hapless, hopeless defense that gives up, is down 44-14 to Cleveland after 3 quarters.
Right.
right? Remember the home game?
Yeah. 40, yeah, you look down 40-14.
Okay. Well, what am I supposed to do with that? I can't defend it. I can't win with it. There comes a point where when you fall behind to the Atlanta Falcons at halftime this past year, 29-10, and Dak pulled off a miraculous comeback.
Yes.
It's just, you can't keep doing that. You're going to lose a lot of games.
So in other words, it's not so much that you love Adoree Jackson. You're still upset that the Cowboys hadn't made a move in free agency on the defensive side of football that's going to get Skip Bayless excited, like other fan bases are getting excited about them signing free agents.
We're going to talk more about this later in the show, but you know how much Jerry Jones loves his own.
Yeah.
The players they draft, he just clings with both hands as hard as he can cling.
Them his babies.
Xavier Woods. That for some reason they love him. I watch him every snap, and we had him on the show. He's a great young man. I don't have anything personal. It's just Xavier lost in the woods at safety. Too many times he just lost. I'm saying, well, where are you? What are you doing? You took a terrible angle on play like the Odell play where he broke up the right sideline. Where are you? I don't know where he was because he didn't seem to know where he was. Well, he's still on the market, and I'm going to fall off this chair if they just re-sign him at cut rate value because he's not worth a nickel to me at this point. I already saw that.
You can't even get minimum?
No, I already saw it. You got to start fresh. You got to start over. And there's a reason why Xavier Woods is still on the market.
Maybe you got to drop his value some, Skip. You know, sometimes you got to have, Michael Jordan's house in Chicago, that thing is still on the market.
Is it really?
It was on the market and started out at 29.5. Now I think it's down to like 13, 11.
Well, does that have anything to do with the fact that the winter lasts 9 months in Chicago?
Well,
is that why?
Still.
Location.
That's Michael Jordan.
If you took that house and put it up where you live in Bel Air, it would be over. It would already be gone for $30 million or whatever it was.
I just saw a house sold for $150 million in Bel Air.
Are you in the market, Shannon?
No.
Not quite?
I can't even pay the light bill or something like that. Yeah. But Skip, look, you can't look at what your Cowboys didn't do and then praise what somebody, even if it might be a bad deal. Jerry like deals. Jerry like a guy to get good value for his money.
But Jerry must be sitting back in his big easy chair saying, I got Dak. I'm good. Well, are you? There's this other thing called defense. Has Jerry ever had a good defense since Charles Haley fell in his lap and then Dion?
Oh, hold up. Skip. But you said Jerry loves that. When Jared Goff signed these deals and all these guys signed these deals, you say Jerry said, that's a bad deal. That's a bad deal. So how do you know Jerry's not sitting back saying, that's a bad deal. That's a bad deal. That's a bad deal.
And I'm looking at his defense. That's a bad defense. Am I right? It's just a bad defense.
It is bad. It is bad.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, when you compare the Cowboys to the Patriots, the two teams really have handled things entirely differently because the Patriots have been very active in the free agent market this offseason. And owner Robert Kraft seems pretty comfortable with the amount of money Bill Belichick has spent on overhauling the roster when discussing the $175 million in guaranteed contracts the team signed just last week. Kraft said this, and I love this quote: "In my 27 years as owner, I've never had to come up with so much capital before. It's like investing in the stock market. Nothing is guaranteed, and I'm very cognizant of that. But we're not in the business to be in business. We're in this business to win." You can say that again. Shannon, was this spending spree by the Patriots desperate or calculated?
I believe it was calculated. And I love Mr. Kraft, Skip. And he said he had to come up with that kind of capital. And for the people at home, when a team guarantees contract, they have to put that money in escrow. So when he said he had to come up with that capital, Skip, he had to come up with $175 million and put that in escrow. You guarantee $200 million, you got to have that money in escrow. So Mr. Kraft like, man, they had me spread, hey, I got a lot of money, but I ain't got $175 million under my pillow.
Yep.
Skip, it was calculated. The thing that what I took from this free agency spending spree that Coach Belichick went on, he admitted he made mistakes. Those 2 third-round tight ends, Skip, I made a mistake. That wide receiver that we took 2 years ago in the first round, I made a mistake. See, the difference is between Coach Belichick and everybody else, Skip. When you make a mistake like that, you got to ride it out, because if you don't, the owner's going to fire your ass. He's safe. So he made a mistake with 2 third-rounders. One, he traded up, Skip, and guess what he did? A year after taking those guys in the 3rd round, he goes in free agency and spends what? $75, $80 million on tight ends. He take a wide receiver with the first pick, his 1st-round pick, and what does he do? He goes spend another $40, $50, $60 million in wide receivers. So I made a mistake. And Mr. Kraft says, okay, I'm going to cover for you this time. Most of the time, Skip, you got to let this thing play out. You're not getting rid of no guy after no what. Now, unless it's a situation like Tennessee, that offensive lineman, 1st-round pick, got traded for a 7th, and now he's out of the league. But normally it takes an extenuating circumstance for something like that, Skip. We don't normally see this.
No.
We don't normally see a guy go spend this kind of money after just taking that position. You took 2 tight ends, and you replace them a year later with 2 free agent tight ends. You take a wide receiver. So he said, I goofed it. I made a mistake, but I'm going to correct this mistake. And Mr. Kraft said, hey, and this is what I love what he said. He says, I'm not in business just to be in business. How many, Skip? Because you know with this new TV deal, Skip, every owner starting in 2022 going to get $300 million from the TV contract.
Yep.
That's before a ticket. That's before concession. That's before paraphernalia. That's before parking. That's before local advertising is sold. They're getting $300 million. Mr. Kraft said, I ain't in the business just to get them $300 million check. I'm trying to win Lombardis, and I trust that guy that's going to get me another Lombardi trophy. Coach Belichick, I hate to say it, but you know, he impressed this girl. Tom seen what he did. Tom was like, that's okay, I'm still happy down here where I am. But he said, hey, if you'd have just waited, this is what I would have been willing to do for you. I'd have gave you a nice ring. I'd have gave you a nice car. Tom said, nah, I'm good over here where I'm at right now. But Skip, it was calculated. This is what you have to do. And I know, Skip, you know, your Pro Football Focus said they overpaid for this one, they overpaid for that one. But it's just like the Adoree Jackson, Skip. I don't know who else the hell I'm bidding it against. Hey, I'm bidding in the dark. I'm trying to get a number. What number can I get to that says, okay, you're going to be willing to be a New England Patriot? Well, it took $13 million for Aguilar. It took whatever for Kendrick Bourne. And that's what you have to do, Skip. That's what free agency is. That's why guys want to get the free agent, Skip. That's why they hate the tag, because the tag is a set number, $15 million. Well, if I get out there and I get a couple of teams bidding, just think about it. What's the guy's name, Skip? Chris Godwin. He got what, 14 million? What's the tag, 14 million?
14.5, yep.
Kenny Golladay got 17.5.
Okay.
That's what he said. He said, I want to test the market. So when you test the market, you have to pay. But I think it was very calculated what he did. He admitted, I made mistakes. Now let me cover up those mistakes by going and doing it this way.
By the way, just a year ago, Amari Cooper got $21 million, but don't get me started.
Well, that was Jerry Big Spit. That was Jerry Big Piece of Pie.
Back to Robert Kraft. I have just one response from Mr. Kraft. Welcome to life without Tom Brady. I'm sorry. I don't care how you want to spin this. Tom Brady left this organization in a shambles. They are flailing. They are desperate. Tom Brady made Mr. Kraft look like the greatest owner in the history of sports. And there's a lot of quality and there's a lot to respect in that man. No doubt about that. But he got a lot of credit for just
staying out of the way.
just standing in the background and being there when necessary, but just staying out of the way, as you point out. And Bill Belichick got a lot of credit for being a genius head coach when I'll give you genius defensive coordinator, or at least an all-time great one. But when it comes to team building, this looks all-time desperate to me. This looks like splashing cash the way nobody did in this whole free agency period. The biggest shock of free agency is what a slow rollout it's been, because I thought everybody would splash cash on day one. I know the cap has fallen. I know money can be tight, but there were 6 teams that had big money. And again, Robert Kraft said we had the 3rd most money. Well, they spent the 1st most by far.
And they still got some money.
By far, though, okay? They still got some money. I got it. But this was that they came out of the blocks and just threw money every direction. And it felt willy-nilly to me, because Robert Kraft woke up last year and said, wait a second, we're about to go 7-9. How can that be? Because all he's ever known, for the most part, is
Playoffs and Super Bowl.
Tom terrific, man. Tom will figure it out.
Right.
Tom will overcome. Tom will win in spite of. And he just did again and again and again. It didn't matter how many poor moves, how many suspect moves Bill Belichick made as the team builder, as the GM of the Patriots. Brady always canceled it out because Brady would rise above. That's just what he does.
Right.
And now everybody, all the sites I respect, the analysts I respect, they're all saying, let's start with Nelson Aguilar. Just way overpaid for a guy who had a blip of a year last year in Las Vegas.
But Skip, that's all that matters in free agency. And see, that's what you have to be careful of. Is this a guy that's trending in that direction, or was just because he was in a contract year? Skip, you know teams, and I've had discussion with teams, and it says he never played like this before. Was it just because he's in a contract year, or is this something that he can continue? Skip, that's what you don't know. You don't, but Skip, here's the thing. Well, you're right. When you have Tom Brady, there's some moves that you can make that Tom Brady can overcome. Now that you don't have Tom Brady, we don't have that luxury of being able to overcome. So we need to make sure we're talented enough at those positions, because I'm not so sure that we have a quarterback that can overcome the mistakes that I've made in the past. So you have to do that, Skip.
Okay, then we go to the tight ends.
They call
Johnny
you
Smith. I like Hunter Henry a lot.
I do too.
But still, both of them have not made a single Pro Bowl. And I know Patriot Nation was, we got Hunter Henry. It's because you got nothing else.
Nothing. They was really the bottom of the barrel.
And if you really think you have Gronk and Aaron Hernandez, you are sadly mistaken. I'm sorry. And you had to overpay because you went first.
Right.
You didn't wait out the market at all because you felt like you couldn't, because you were desperate to improve as quickly as you could to keep up with Tom Brady. I don't care what anybody says. In the backs of their minds, they're saying, he just won the Super Bowl.
But Skip, here's the thing is, I go into free agency, and I got my board up. Here's the position that we want. We want A, B, C, D. Skip, if A is up there, Skip, I can't wait the market out and let somebody snatch what I need. So by the process of me waiting, in the time that I'm waiting, somebody else snatch Hunter Henry. Somebody else snatch Jonnu Smith. Skip, then now I'm stuck with the third-round guys that I know they can't play. That's why I want these guys.
And the prize of their haul, to me, was Matthew Judon. And again, he's a guy who leaps off my screen. But Pro Football Focus ripped this move and said, much of his production came courtesy of Baltimore's extraordinarily high blitz rate. Still a concern due to Judon's unproven ability to win one-on-one battles. If that's true, then you way overpaid for him. He won't change your life. Unless you blitz the way Baltimore did, and they don't usually blitz that way.
Well, they did. They did when you, Skip, Coach Belichick, the year they won the Super Bowl, they were a heavy pressure team. When they got off to that great start where everybody talking about that's a historic defense, they were blitzing. Now, I'm hearing now that they're not actively shopping Stephon Gilmore, but Stephon Gilmore's like, I want to get paid. I see all these guys making all this money. Adoree Jackson makes as much money as I do. And he can't even see me. So y'all need to do something about my pay.
Okay.
But Skip, when you in this situation, when you get accustomed to winning, losing hurts people. Like Cincinnati lost so much, Skip, they numb to it. And they lose. They go 3-13. They go 2-14. Man, there ain't nobody jumping off no bridge. Skip, they went 7-9. You talking about a team that went to 9 Super Bowls in 20 years. You go 7-9. The last time they was 8, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Skip, 2002, they were 8-8. So that's the worst. In 19 years, the worst record they've had was 8-8 prior to last year. That's cause for concern. That's cause.
I got it. The old cliche is, welcome to the life that the other half lives. But this isn't the other half. This is the other 31, right? Okay, and what has to be killing them the worst is that Tom Brady's cap hit going in next year is less than the 3 quarterbacks on their roster right now combined. Because Brady's just taking less and less. It's almost laughable how little money Brady is taking just to ensure that they get the band back together. And we still have some X factors out there, Antonio Brown, Fournette, Sue. And I don't know what's going to happen, but if they get 2 out of those 3 back, then the band to me is officially back together.
Right. The question is, Skip, I mean, what are you going to accept? Because Antonio Brown is not going to get the payday from the Tampa that he thinks. I understand you was on your best behavior, but bruh, it's going to take more than 8 games of good behavior for a team to trust you that this is a new rehabilitated AB.
Okay. Do you want to win a second ring?
No, he want money.
Okay. Do you want to stay in Florida with no state tax?
No, he can come back. He got a home in Florida. He can come back to visit that.
Okay.
AB wants money, Skip. You got to realize, Skip, if he had got that $30 million that he was guaranteed and this was the situation, okay. But he didn't get that. So the $30 million that he should have got, he's never going to recoup that. How do you recoup that, Skip?
Okay, my final thought on Robert Kraft is that he said in this interview with Peter King that Tom Brady chose to go elsewhere. I beg to differ. I'm sorry, Mr. Kraft, but it was 3 long years of Belichick slowly but surely pushing him out the back door till he finally threw up his hands and said, I got to go.
All you had to do was extend him. When they gave him that $8 million bonus, remember, Skip, they gave him that $8 million bonus, and I think it got his salary to $23 million. Instead of just giving him $8 million, why not extend him another 2 years? If you want someone to stay, that's what you do. You show him, Tom, we want you here. We want you to play. Okay, we'll do another 2 years. Because that's basically what he did in Tampa, Skip.
Yep.
So they could have gave him another 2 years. So we'll give you 3 years. We'll avoid the 3rd year. We won't, we can't be franchised. And you could have had Tom Brady if you really wanted him. But once he saw that you keep every year, I get closer and closer to the exit. You keep moving my chair closer and closer to the door.
That is correct.
You're trying to tell me you want me to get the hell up out of here. At some point in time, you know what, Skip? You ain't got to shove me anymore. I'm leaving. Man, you ain't got to push me. I'm just going to walk up out the door.
And in the end, even though Kraft in 2017 chose Brady over Belichick,
he did.
In the end, he chose his coach and general manager over Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And you got to live with that.
Right. Okay.
No mercy.
Number 1 seed, Gonzaga rolled over 8 seed Oklahoma with an 87-71 victory yesterday to advance to the Sweet 16. The Bulldogs are now 28-0 on the season and have won 32 straight dating back to last year. And in a field full of Cinderellas, upsets, and bracket busters, Gonzaga is starting to look more and more like an unstoppable force as the tournament enters its 2nd week, and it has been quite entertaining to watch. So glad we got it back. Shannon, would you take Gonzaga over or the field to win it all right now?
Well, everybody better be, because everybody else bracket is like mine, trash right now. So with all the upsets, Skip, so basically I got Gonzaga winning all, and that's the only thing that can save me from being a total disappointment is Gonzaga winning the tournament. Skip, look, they're the most complete team in the field. Only 2 games this all season have been within 5 points of the final in the last 5 minutes of the ball game, and that's what you gotta hope. Skip, a team like this, you got to get them late into the ball game and have it be close. We saw what Duke did to UNLV, Skip, when they were trying to go back-to-back and they were undefeated.
I was there.
We saw what Wisconsin did to Karl Anthony Towns, Kentucky.
Yep.
We kept it close and then give ourselves a chance. That's what you got to do with this team. They didn't play particularly well. It was the lowest shooting percentage from the field, Skip, and they got 87 points and they won by 16. Oklahoma shot 50% from the floor, and they lost by 16. So they played their best. You play your best, you can't beat them. You got to play your best and hope they're having an off night. Hope you get the game close within the final 5 minutes and make them execute every single possession. But it hasn't been like that, Skip. They're up 20 points. They celebrate dancing, and then your guy did dirty yesterday, pushed the man, Skip. That was dirty pool, Skip Bayless.
It was.
Oklahoma, is that what y'all got to resort to? Is that what you got to resort to? You told me yesterday.
We play football.
Oh, you're a football school.
Yeah.
You're a football school. Yeah. But Skip, the Zags, because of the way they're constructed, 2 seniors, a junior, sophomore, and a freshman.
Yep.
They got the experience. They got the elite level talent at the Jaylon Suggs. So they're going to be a difficult out. I'm taking them. This the old Tiger Woods, Skip, when he shows up and he's in prime. I'm taking Tiger versus the field. I'm taking Gonzaga versus the field.
So you just compared Gonzaga to Tiger Woods at his mightiest.
No. I don't know, but Skip, USC got me feeling some kind of way after what I saw him do to Kansas last night.
So you're a little iffy about your Gonzaga versus the field.
Had USC won by, say, like 5 or 6 points, I'd like, oh, yeah, we got them. Skip, that was Kansas.
So you are relying on the chalk of chalk to save your bracket.
Yep.
Because Gonzaga was obviously the number one overall pick, right?
Yep.
And speaking of chalk, there's Rock Chalk Jayhawk, and they got rocked.
They got rocked.
Whoa, did they get rocked by USC? But first to the Gonzaga game. I will remind you, my Oklahoma Sooners basketball team had lost 5 of 6 going into the tournament.
Yeah.
So they were hit and miss. They had a hot streak for a while, and they were giant killing, and then they just fell off the map. And Austin Reeves will get his because he's a kid from Indiana who can just score the basketball.
Yeah.
He got his 27, but Brady Manick, who's a senior from Harrell, Oklahoma, and I always had a lot. He's 6'9", he can shoot it. He went 1 for 8, and he was going to have to score his 25 for them to have any chance. But to your point, Gonzaga did not dominate them defensively because they were scoring pretty much at will.
Right.
They just couldn't keep Gonzaga. And Jaylon Suggs, I give you, he is elite. He is a stud among studs. But speaking of studs, I had Iowa coming out of there because I had Iowa beating Gonzaga in the regional final. And I completely underestimated the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Because here they come. Kaboom, 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 kaboom. 4 of them, 2 Oregons and 2 LA schools, they're way better than I gave them credit for. Because Oregon just took apart Iowa. And my man Luka, the real Luka Garza,
He got his, Skip.
he got his 36 and 9, but he had no help and no assists, so nobody else could get involved.
Yeah.
And Oregon was just better. They're just like everywhere I look, they're just better.
Right.
So Oregon went 14-4 and won the Pac-12. USC went 15-5 and barely finished second in the Pac-12.
Oregon State won the Pac-12, I think. Didn't Oregon State beat Colorado?
Oregon. No, Oregon did. Then Oregon State came. They won the tournament.
Yeah.
They got hot late. Oregon State was 11-12 on February 20th and just took off.
Yeah, Oregon won the regular season.
When I watched them the other day, I said, God, because they took out my other pick for the Final Four, Oklahoma State, and they just look better. They just look deeper and better. And I said, my God, what is going on here? And then last night, USC had Kansas down 40-21 at halftime. These are the mighty Jayhawks.
Yeah.
This is a team that the final score was 85-51. That was by 34 points. That was the 3rd worst loss in Kansas history. And the 2nd worst was in 1974. And the 1st worst was in 1900. So you can imagine this was all-time humiliating for this program. And it was a mismatch because on the boards, it was 43-27 USC. They were bigger, more physical.
Yeah.
They look better coached than Bill Self's team. I know Bill's teams have had a lot of trouble in the NCAAs, but it's because they get giant killed by a buzzer beater. This was a wipeout, right? So are you sure that USC or Oregon, now they have to play each other, and it's a pick-em game.
Right.
It's pick-em.
Right.
Well, one of them's going to come out. I would give a slight edge from what I saw to USC, but it's a coin toss to me. Well, one or the other is going to give Gonzaga a game. I promise you.
Well, they better get it close, Skip. And the thing about Gonzaga, Skip, even though their conference player of the year, Kerspit, Skip, he didn't play well. But then you get Drew Timme. You get Jaylon Suggs.
He's big and strong.
And that's the thing, though, Skip. So all these other teams, their best player has to play well every game or they lose.
Okay.
Gonzaga's best player does not have to play well, and they can still beat you by 20.
All right. So let's say that Gonzaga does get past USC or Oregon.
Yeah.
Okay. They got to get past Creighton first, but they're favored by 13.5. So I'm assuming you got. So
we're in the money.
Yeah, you got the genius pick. You picked the number one overall.
Yeah.
I got it. You went way out on a limb with that one.
No, I didn't go.
You know your college basketball.
No, I ain't go out on a limb with that one, Skip.
Okay. So if they get by USC or Oregon, then they have to play the winner of the East in the national semifinal. And I have Alabama coming out of there. But now I'm a little skittish about this because Alabama has to deal with UCLA. And we saw what UCLA did the first night to Izzo and company and sent them to a big tailspin, right?
Yeah.
UCLA is big and strong and skilled. And how they're an 11 seed, I have no idea. But I will say this. After I watched Alabama just terrorize Maryland yesterday or last night, Alabama, my pick to win it all, is the deepest team in college basketball. They come in waves, and this coach, Nate Oates, who they just gave a big extension to, he is going to become the next superstar coach in college basketball if he isn't already.
They defend. They get out there.
And they can shoot it from everywhere, any way you want to shoot it. They can drive it or they can three-ball you.
Can you get to 80? Because if you can't get to 80, you can't beat Gonzaga.
I would like their chances against Gonzaga, and I hope it gets there. I hope that's the national semifinal. But my team has to get by UCLA. Then Michigan plays Fuller State, and they'd probably have to get by Michigan.
The Zags done beating everybody. You know that's Steve. That's Steve O, is my guy.
Yeah.
That's his alma. So he feeling real good about it.
Okay. All right. Fine. So in the South, I picked Arkansas. Arkansas's got Oral Roberts, and I love watching Oral Roberts. They're fun to watch, but I think Arkansas can win that game. I watched Baylor the other day, and I watched them a lot during the year, and they had COVID issues and were gone for 3 weeks. They're potent.
I don't know, Skip. You be playing these church schools, and man, things divine intervention be happening.
Well, Loyola Chicago.
I'm like, I don't be wanting to play y'all.
Okay, but Loyola Chicago plays Oregon State in the Midwest.
Yeah, Skip. Hey, and they got the nun. What's her name? Sister Jean.
Sister Jean.
Yeah, Sister Jean. And she said a special prayer. She's like, help us take down this be a line now. And what happened? I don't want no parts of that, Skip. Nope.
Well. Again, I've got Arkansas coming out of there. I got Oregon State coming out of the Midwest because it's the Pac-10. Pac-12.
So in other words, you're trying to say Alabama's about to do what Florida did back in 06, 07, win football and basketball?
That's what I picked. And they're independent of each other. I'm not saying they go together. It's just one of those years where they've got a St. Nick coaching the basketball team.
Well, Skip, I don't know if the Zags don't do it this year. I don't know if anybody's going to do what Coach Knight did in '76, where he went undefeated in a season. I think this is the best chance for that to happen right now. They got a great mix, upperclassmen, freshmen that's sensational. They got the right mix. I don't believe if it's not done now, because we thought UNLV was going to do it when they brought back everybody, Stacey Augmon, Grandmama, Anderson Hunt, Anthony, Greg Anthony, and it didn't happen. So I don't know, Scott. I don't know if it'll ever happen if Gonzaga doesn't do it. And I think they're gonna do it. And I'll be celebrating. We're gonna be toasted. Zags.
Really?
Yep.
You don't seem that confident to me.
I feel very confident.
Do you?
I feel very confident because I know what you got to get to in order to beat us.
Okay. I will bet you owe me so many cases. I will bet you 5 cases they don't win at all.
I got it. 5 cases it is. Let's go, Zags. Let's go. Jaylon sucks.
Yeah, Shannon, you and really the entire country is hoping that you're right about that because so many brackets. Gonzaga to be the team that
anybody say, oh, yeah, man, I got like 12 teams left. They lying. Ain't nobody got no 12 teams. You might have 3 top 4.
They have like 1 at this point.
I got the
Okay,
Zags.
so 5 cases, it's official?
Yeah. In my bracket, I put Jags. I put the Zags on all the way through because that's all I was counting on.
I think you called them the Jags.
Yeah. That's all I got. Skip. I don't care about anything else.
Yep.
National champ.
Yep.
Either way, I think it's funny what you said about those church schools. Divine intervention taking place. And yes, let's give some respect to the Pac-12. They deserve it right now. 4 Sweet 16 berths, most for the conference. So well done. Let's see how far they can take this thing.
Mercy.
So Steve Kerr's name started trending yesterday after quotes from a podcast went viral where Kerr said he enjoyed coaching last season's 15-50 Warriors team more than the previous year's squad that lost to the Raptors during Kevin Durant's final season in Golden State. KD even commented about the whole thing on Twitter, calling Kerr's description, quote, hilarious. But then yesterday, Kerr described how he was angry that the original comments were taken out of context, emphasizing that it was the stress level and injuries from that last finals run that made this season less enjoyable. So, Shannon, there's a lot there. Are you buying this explanation?
Yeah, I'm glad you called, but you said bull jive. Because that's what this is. Steve Kerr, you should be upset that you said it publicly, not that the guy tweeted it. or put it out there. That's what you said. What did you expect to happen? You were around Kevin Durant for 3 years. You know he's ultra sensitive. You know he hears and sees all. What did you think his reaction was going to be when you said in a 15-50 season you had more fun than you had the previous season when you almost won the title? How did hell you think you were going to, Kevin Durant was going to accept that? And you know how I know? Because guess what, Skip? You spent that entire year walking around on eggshells. You guys did everything you possibly could to make sure Kevin Durant felt okay. Don't say this, don't say that, because we don't want to get him upset. We want to do everything he possibly can. And he also said the first 4 years as a head coach at Golden State were more enjoyable with no agendas. And the last year went a little haywire. Skip, the moment you signed Kevin Durant, everybody had an agenda. Your agenda was to keep this dynasty going. You knew without Kevin Durant, you were not going to continue to win NBA titles. Kevin Durant knew that gave him the best opportunity to win NBA titles. That's correct. Everybody went in with an agenda. Everybody got their agenda accomplished. But you didn't need to say that, even if you thought it. Some things, Skip, you just take to your grave. You just like, you know what, man, this thing was miserable right here because we got to step on eggshells. That's why the hell you suspended Draymond. Because you wanted to show Kevin Durant, well, you the man. We ain't gonna let Draymond talk to you like this here. We gonna suspend him because we want you to know we got your back. Even though Draymond had been there for the entirety, he helped build this thing. But you took that side. So, Steve, I don't know what you thought Kevin Durant was gonna be like, oh yeah, you know, I can see what happened. Nah, he gonna be ticked off. You know how KD is. You were around him. And rightfully so. You mean to tell me, I get it. KD didn't come back. I'm sure you wanted KD back, but he wanted to go do his own thing. Let the man go. You got what you wanted out of this, Steve. Damn, y'all gonna turn me into a bigger KD fan than LeBron fan. The way y'all keep beating him up.
True, and you should be. Because you know Kevin Durant is the best player.
See, there you go. See, that's why I can't talk with you. That's why I can't talk with you.
I got it. Okay, before I launch on this, just for the record, Steve Kerr did use his media availability before the game last night to just go off on this and say it was completely yanked out of context. So I listened to what he said, and he said, I was trying to explain that fifth year was just an absolute bear, which was the last year with Kevin. It was the stress level. This is what he said before the game last night. 2 season-ending injuries during the finals, obviously Clay and Kevin. DeMarcus Cousins also had a serious injury that took him out of the playoffs for 6 weeks. We had all kinds of stress. So he's saying that was the context in which he spoke.
Why did he say that during the interview?
Okay. Then Drew Schiller, who first tweeted out the quote unquote, out of context, according to Steve Kerr, is the game analyst for the Warriors G League team in Santa Cruz, the Santa Cruz Warriors. And so now he is profusely apologizing, saying, I was out of line, I messed this up. And again, I think he's fearing a little bit for his job because he works
he worked for the Warriors.
Yes. Okay, now to my conclusion about all this. First of all, it's funny about podcasts. You do a podcast.
Yeah, I do.
You can get somebody real comfortable on a podcast, and it's almost like they're just speaking to you, and they're not speaking to us. It's just to Shannon on his podcast, right?
Guess what, Skip? Guess where he's at? He's at home.
He's at home.
If I get you at home, you get comfortable.
Okay. But yet, if we had Steve Kerr from home on this show on live TV, I'll bet you he'd be a little more careful, and I don't think he'd quite go here.
Right.
Because it's a dangerous place to go if you care about Kevin's feelings right now.
Correct.
And I'm not completely buying out of context because his point was still his point.
Yes.
It was a bear of a year, but underlying the injuries was the conflict with Kevin and Draymond and Kevin and Steph and
Kevin coming back.
Right. And Willie or won't
That was the issue, Skip.
It was. And now it's funny. And Steve Kerr's a good guy and everybody loves him. And the media loves him. But he also, we talked about Kraft and Belichick learning how to live without Tom Brady. He is now learning how it feels to coach a team that doesn't have Kevin Durant and didn't have Steph last year and now doesn't have Clay or Kevin Durant, right?
Right.
And it's hard, man, because it's how not the other half lives, it's the other 29 teams live. And he just fell into, did Mark Jackson not teach that team how to play defense and how to win? Yes, he did. All the groundwork was laid by Mark Jackson, and Steve just fell out of the sky right into heaven. Oh, I'm coaching these guys? And it was quite a ride for him, right? Because you just crushed the world, right?
You got 2 top 5 players. You got one of the top 5 shooters of all time.
Yep.
You got a guy in Draymond that understands his role, can run the offense, can rebound, can assist. He's going to end up averaging more assists than points this year, Skip. But that's what you have. You trot that out there. They had Mike Brown thinking that he could coach. Mike Brown, they had Luke, Skip. You remember Luke Walton?
Do I?
Luke Walton went 39-4.
He did.
Luke Walton, they won 39 total games. In 4 years, they coaching the Lakers, and another 2 years coaching the Kings.
Yep.
But he won 39-4. Man, he looked up and coming. Hell, I could have got him to 36-5, 36-6.
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt it.
This is what Steve Kerr says, Skip. What you want is a good vibe when you come into the gym every day. He didn't mention anything about no injuries. He didn't mention anything about Boogie. He didn't mention anything about Achilles or about an ACL tear. He says what you want is a good vibe, which is a clear indication he's taking a shot at Kevin Durant. And Kevin Durant was right to the respond.
Yep, I agree. And yet, trust me, deep down, he misses going into that gym with that bad vibe because they were
Give me a
just
bad vibe.
loaded. Give me KD and Steph and Clay and Draymond. And let's see what happens, right?
Skip, any coach, as long as the guy's not being destructive and causing problems, there's a lot of guys, Skip. Everybody's not going to be a choir boy. Everybody's not going to be Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. But what you want, that guy go up there and raise hell on Sundays, give me that guy.
Yep.
Give me that guy that's a walking 28 and 9. That's what I want. I want Kevin Durant because I know Kevin Durant can get me buckets.
Yep.
When you see everybody say, I'm a bucket, I'm a bucket. No, that's a basket. He ain't a bucket, he's a basket.
Yep.
So Kevin Durant was right to respond because you were talking about, you had more fun coaching 15 and 50.
Remember what he said? Hilarious.
Yeah.
Right? He's laughing at Steve Kerr.
I'm like, man, KD, you know me and you cool, KD. That be Skip over there be trying to gas me up, but I don't fall for that.
You are not cool with KD.
I'm cool with KD. Me and KD cool.
No, you're not.
Yeah, we are.
No.
You be trying to gas KD. You be trying to gas me up to get on KD, but I ain't gonna do it.
KD considers you one of what he calls fanboys who just dote on
Well, as long as
LeBron.
he don't call me a casual, he call me whatever he wants to. I ain't no casual. But Steve Kerr was out of pocket on this one, Skip.
Yeah.
He should have just leave that alone.
And finally, if Steve Kerr were really great at his job, might he have fixed that problem during that 5th year? Is it possible?
No, I think, but here's the thing. Is because KD didn't address it to the manner of their liking.
Yeah.
They wanted KD to say, KD wanted KD to say, hey, I'm back, bro. We're going to finish this thing out. We're going to get 4, 5, 6 of these things. KD's like, nah. But KD wanted, Skip, KD was never going to be accepted in Golden State like he is in Brooklyn.
Because of Steph Curry.
That's
simple. And once Draymond, I thought, crossed the line with him.
Yes.
And on the bench at Clippers, he called him the B word after they had a little conflict on the floor about who's going to bring the ball up. That was the beginning of the end. So he said, you called me that, and I'll never be him here. Right. I love Kyrie. I'm going to Brooklyn.
I use the analogy all the time, Skip. This is New Edition.
Yep.
Johnny Gill could outsing Ralph Tresvant, Bobby, Ricky, all of them. They couldn't see Johnny. But Johnny didn't grow up in the borough.
No.
He didn't grow up with them in the Massachusetts area.
Okay.
So he wasn't going to be accepted like they were. KD didn't come up with it. He didn't call when they were getting their eyes beat out. He came in after they went 73 and 9. So Golden State,
By the way, they requested his presence.
They requested his service.
Yes.
But he could have told them no. But the agenda was what it was. We want to continue this dynasty.
Yep.
I need rings. We can both get something out of the deal, but when we break up, Skip, hey, we go our separate ways. Skip, it's like a marriage. We get together, you become a billionaire, I become a billionaire, we separate, okay, we cool. We both made what we wanted. We got out of what we wanted, Skip. I can't be mad at KD. KD shouldn't be mad at Steve Kerr, but Steve Kerr, you can't be mad at that man. That man got you. Come on now. We would look at Steve Kerr a lot different, Skip, if he only had one title.
Yep.
He only had one.
Kevin Durant won back back-to-back finals
Yes.
MVPs.
And LeBron James would have had 2 more. And then it would
You know
been,
what? He just
And
well
then
might
it'd
have.
have been no doubt.
There have been big
It'd have
doubts.
been no doubt who GOAT.
Oh, stop it.
All right. Well, we
After
just started
2011,
something there.
that was game
Seriously.
No. Skip.
Over.
We'd have been 6 for 6.
Oh,
6 for 6. So add 2 more with 2 less losses.
6 for 6.
Yeah.
No mercy.
The best season ever continues as the NASCAR Cup Series heads to Bristol for the first dirt track race in 50 years. The action starts Sunday at 3:30 Eastern on Fox and anywhere on the Fox Sports app. So Tom Brady had a great year, proving his doubters wrong this past season. Not only did he win a Super Bowl in his first year without Bill Belichick, but he did so by throwing the ball deeper than most people thought a 43-year-old QB could do. According to Pro Football Focus, Brady's 91 deep pass attempts were the most by any quarterback in 2020. Nobody else had more than 80 such throws. Shannon, how impressive is that stat?
Not very. That's like saying a guy in the NBA, he had the most 3-point attempts. Okay, what was his field goal? What was his percentage? How many buckets did he make? How many of those attempts did he make?
Did he win the championship?
That's not what it said.
Oh.
They didn't mention anything about no championship. It said Tom Brady threw the most deep passes. So I want to know, did he complete the most deep passes? Did he have the most touchdowns off deep passes? No, he did not. Of guys that threw, of the 33 quarterbacks that threw at least 25 deep balls, Tom Brady was 18th. 39.6% completion percentage. You see what Pro Football Focus does? They take these little he threw the ball deep. Well, give me, Skip Bayless, you know what I like to do here on this side of the table? I like to provide people with context.
Oh.
Context.
Kind of like Steve Kerr does.
Yeah, context. So I don't want people to think I was taking out of context.
Okay.
Tom Brady threw the ball down the field a lot, but you need to give me completion percentage. We need to get touchdown percentage. How many of those did he complete? Just throwing the ball deep doesn't do me any good, Skip. That's like, okay, he had the most free throw attempts. What was his percentage? Remember Shaq used to have Shaq would attempt the most free throws. What was his percentage? Will would attempt the most free throws. What was his percentage? So don't do that, Skip. Give context. Tom Brady threw 90 deep balls. He had 48 completions. He had the most touchdown passes off deep balls. He did not. Patrick Mahomes did not throw as many deep balls, had a high completion, more touchdowns. So did Aaron Rodgers. Huh? How's that possible? You would like to think, Skip, if I take 1,500 shots, somebody take 500 shots, I'm going to make more buckets than they are. You would think just by the sheer number. So just by the sheer number of him throwing the ball, he should have more touchdowns and more completions than the other guys, right?
So you're saying that Pro Football Focus is trying to fraudulently embellish his legacy, his mystique.
Yes.
Right?
Skip, when have we ever heard, people at home, I don't know if you've heard, but I've never heard, they never kept a stat where the guy just threw the ball down the field. And they just throw the ball down the field and just give you, this guy got off the snap of the ball quicker than anybody else. Well, how many sacks did he have? How many tackle for losses did he have? How many pressures on the quarterback? Just telling me somebody is quick off the ball doesn't give me context with anything else. I need context with him throwing the ball deep. What else came out of that?
Okay. I'm going to provide context
Okay, thank
for
you. I
those
appreciate
at
that.
home.
I really appreciate that.
Your favorite website, Pro Football Focus, ranked Tom Brady's performance during the regular season second only to Aaron Rodgers, the MVP. Pro Football Focus ranked Tom Brady's performance in the postseason first overall because he took a team
Because
that
he
was
won.
7-9 a year ago, a wild card team that went 11-5, and he took them to Washington against the number 2 ranked defense in the whole league. And you know what happened there. And then against the number 4 ranked defense at New Orleans, we know what happened. Against the number 9 ranked defense on the frozen tundra at Green Bay NFC Championship game, we know what happened. All the way back home to the first ever home Super Bowl victory by the home team over a guy that you love, the transcendent
What about
thrower of
the
the
defense?
football, Patrick Mahomes.
You listed everybody else's defense, but you left out that and then made it about Mahomes. What was that Kansas City's defense?
Well, what was Patrick Mahomes? He was invincible, right? He was just invincible. And I kept winning 5 cases and 6 cases and 4 cases, and he just took me all the way home because he had the year of years at age 43.
He did, Skip. That's not what Pro Football Focus said. They didn't mention anything about his year. All they said is deep balls. Tom Brady threw more deep balls. He threw 10 more deep balls than anybody else in the league. Now, I need context. You said you're going to provide context.
I did.
How many of them was completed?
Okay, here's the context.
Okay.
For our show's sake. You said after he lost his final home playoff game to Tennessee at Foxborough for the New England Patriots, you said that he was in decline, that he had declining arm talent. And I said, I don't see an ounce of decline. Tampa Bay, both Arians and Todd Light said, we see no decline in his arm talent.
Okay.
And you said, well, they're going to have to sort of modify the offense. We're going to have to dial it down. You said they'll have to dial it down. Bruce Arians, no risk it, no biscuit, bombs away attack that Jameis was so great and so bad at because he threw the most touchdown passes and then he just ran away with the turnovers. So you said that declining arm talent, and they said no, and we'll prove it to you. We will ask him to throw the most deep passes of any other quarterback in the league. Tom Brady threw it the farthest. It's called air distance. He ran away with air distance because he went no risk it, no biscuit, with no modification of the offense that I could see.
Skip, we're going to agree, let's agree, that Dame Lillard and Steph Curry shoot from distance the most threes. From distance, we say 30 and beyond. But if Dame Lillard was shooting that and he was making 10% of those shots, we go like, what is that about? If Steph Curry is making 5% of that shot, it's because Dame is shooting those, and he's still shooting at a very high clip. Steph is shooting at a high clip. That's what I'm saying. Tom Brady throwing the ball down the field 35, 40, 50 yards, and they're incomplete. He doesn't have the most touchdowns on deep passes. So what exactly does this stat mean? He can still throw the ball. Hell, Brett Favre can still throw the ball deep.
Okay, but you didn't think Tom could. Not like this.
Skip, I didn't think Tom in that situation. You didn't tell me that he was going to go and now guys was going to be able to take Tom for the ride. You look at Mike Evans, you look at Chris Godwin, you look at what he has now. He didn't have that there. And they did modify the offense. Yes, he threw the ball down the field, but Bruce Arians' offense is not about motion. Bruce Arians' offense is not a whole lot of play action.
That's different. That has nothing to do with air distance.
That's my point.
It took all the way into the bye week after the Kansas City home loss for them to say, let's add a little motion, let's add a little play action, let's add a little screen game that we haven't exploited. And it started to look more like New England as they hit the playoff run.
Skip, he did what he did. He went to a team the year before that didn't make the playoffs. He not only did he get them in the playoffs, he won the Super Bowl. I'm not trying to take that from him. I'm just saying I need Pro Football Focus to give us context. What exactly does having 90 balls thrown deep, if you don't say his completion percentage was this, or he led the league in touchdowns off these deep passes?
It simply means that he didn't go to Tampa and start dinking and dunking because he just didn't have the arm a la Drew Brees. We saw declining arm talent. You had to scale it back down for Drew Brees, and ultimately it cost them.
You see what they did? Now, you used to come out here last year. Zeke Elliott had the most carries on first down. He had the lowest yards per attempt per carry on first down.
It wasn't the lowest, but it was way down the line. It was 25th.
Yeah, but you gave us great context. He has the most rush attempts on first down. He has one of the lowest yards per carry on first down. So in other words, we getting back to the lines. We going back. We 2nd and 9. We 2nd and 10. You gave me context. They gave us all they said is that he threw the ball deep more than anybody.
All right, but the point is, if Tom Brady had ranked at the end of the year 20th in air distance, you'd got me. You'd have me because I'd have to say, well, they must have led the league in rushing, but they didn't lead the league in rushing. No. Did they lead the league in defense? No, they didn't lead the league in defense because much of the year the defense did not click.
Did they lead the league in big plays?
How do you define them? 20-plus yards? He was way up there. I don't know if he was first.
My homeboy.
Yeah, okay, but he was way up there.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying, Skip. It's like if a running back, if I tell you running back, well, he had the most rush attempts. Okay, That don't tell me anything. Did he have the most rushing touchdowns? Did he have the most rushing yards? What was his yards per attempt? I need more than just throwing that out there.
Okay. Well, the context is this same website says that he graded overall second best in the league during the regular season.
I disagree with that.
Okay.
I don't think anybody's going to say that during the regular season he played better than Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. Okay, you want to say he graded the highest? Okay, given Patrick Mahomes' last performance, but going into the Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes should have graded higher. Tom Brady threw 3 picks in one game. Mahomes had none.
Okay. But Tom Brady overall graded number 1 in 4 playoff games, including 3 on the road.
I guess when you win, at the end of the day, that's what you can say. And it's hard to refute that. But it's hard for me to see a scenario. I don't see how he played better than Josh Allen, Mahomes during the regular season.
Okay, maybe beauty's in the eye of the beholder, but by their grading system that is not subjective, it's objective. They had graded second.
But Skip, they never tell you how they come to this. They just say, well, we graded it. Well, how do you grade that? How?
I don't know. It's probably on the website somewhere.
No, they don't know website. Yeah. They don't know no website. Oh. They don't want you to know.
So you just think they're Brady fans?
Yeah. I just think they full of you know what. That's
really?
Me personally, yeah.
All I know is the final scoreboard said that Tom Brady was the Super Bowl MVP and the Super Bowl champion.
Skip,
that's all I know.
He was all that. And I've never tried to take that from him this year. I have not, never.
You can have air distance. You can have anything else. I'll take the trophy.
Yeah, but you threw the ball for stop it.
It's never going to get old to talk about what Tom Brady did and how he did it. It's so impressive, and we will continue to talk about it on the show, I'm very sure.
No mercy.
Well, the Cowboys have been quiet in free agency, in part because of the money they've already got tied up in veterans Jaylon Smith and Ezekiel Elliott. Both players hit contract milestones this weekend that locked them into the roster for the upcoming year. However, Dallas Morning News argues that the team needs to hold their current stars more accountable. Zeke's production hasn't lived up to his extension from 2 off seasons ago, and Smith could be expendable after the Cowboys brought in Keanu Neal to play weak side linebacker. So, Shannon, was it the right move to stick with Zeke and Jaylon Smith?
Skip, you say you've been a Cowboy fan since their inception, 1960.
Yeah, 61.
61.
Yep.
Who do you think is a better player, Emmitt Smith and Larry Allen, or Jaylon Smith and Ezekiel Elliott? We know the answer to that. And what did Jerry do when he didn't think they were fulfilling the obligation of their contracts? He released them. Emmitt went to Arizona.
He did.
Larry Allen had Pro Bowl years with the 49ers.
He did.
I don't get this. Skip, I get it. Jerry views the guys that he drafted really like his kids.
Yeah.
He really does. And it's hard for him to sever ties.
Yeah.
In pre-free agency, Skip, you could do this because the guys really didn't make a whole lot of money. And so that's why you see a lot of the old Dallas Cowboys, Skip, they retired. The Randy Whites, the Duttons, the Ed Too Tall Jones, all those guys. Skip, they retired as Cowboys. He wasn't making a whole lot of money. So you just kept them and then just let them go.
Yep.
But when you're making this kind of money, Skip, you got to give me production. You got to give me value.
Yep.
I just don't see the value that Zeke is giving them. And I like Zeke. I thought Zeke was the linchpin for the success that the Cowboys had.
You always did.
I did.
From 2016 on.
But I just don't see the production for $15 million. Jaylon Smith, I don't see the production. I just don't see it. And Skip, you don't pay a guy $40 million to turn around and have him hand the ball out 35 times a game.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. The reason why Patrick Mahomes throw it and Josh Allen, he's going to get the contract, and Aaron Rodgers and guys like that, Skip, you don't pay guys that kind of money to hand the ball off.
Yep.
So how do you get the value out of Zeke Elliott? If you're paying your quarterback $40 million, he's going to throw it on average 35 times a game, and you possibly going to split carries between Pollard and Zeke. How does he ever give you the production to justify $15 million?
He will not.
Unless Jaylon Smith turned into Devin White, Levante David, B. Wags up in Seattle?
Yeah.
How does he justify this? Skip, I get it. I get it. Jerry, they'll go, your guys, you drafted them. You show the utmost loyalty. But if you want to win and continue to win, That's what the really good teams. You can't be afraid to get off your players that you drafted, especially when they're not meeting production to match the level of salary that you're paying them.
Okay, I got it. So let's go back to Bill Belichick and the Brady dynasty in New England. At the height of that dynasty, if Bill Belichick had been faced with these two players' decisions, they are gone. It would be cold-blooded cuts.
Ty Willie McGinnis.
No looking back.
Yeah, he traded Richard Seymour. Lawyer Malloy. Skip, the list goes on and on. Mike Vrabel. Keep naming them.
And what's the old Branch Rickey baseball idiom? The mantra is you always should trade a player one year before you think you should.
Yes.
Just because they're going to suddenly go into steep decline.
Right.
Just don't try to get that one last year out of them, right?
Yep.
Okay. They had a chance yesterday to just flat out cut Jaylon Smith and say, onward and upward, with no real penalty. And they could have exercised their right to cut bait with Zeke a year from now with no real penalty.
Right.
And as you know, boom, boom, no. They kept both. So what is Jerry most guilty of? It's what you said. It's stubborn pride. I drafted these young men. I molded these young men. They will give me a premium year. They will both have bounce back years. They're still in their prime because they should both be in their prime age-wise.
Zeke is 26.
Yeah, okay. And Jaylon Smith's a young he's still an up-and-coming player who, by the way, in 2018 made the Pro Bowl.
Yes.
At the end of the 2018 season, he was wrecking offenses from sideline to side. He was flying across.
Was it a Thursday night game against the Saints, Skip?
Took it over. He and Wolf Hunter just took the game over. And then Seattle came in to Dallas for that first playoff game with the #1 rushing attack. This is that first playoff game after 2018. They just shut them down, held them to 73 yards rushing.
Right.
Of course, they went out to this Coliseum near where we are.
And they gave them 270.
270? How do you do that? What just happened to the Seahawks, and then how did the Rams do that? I don't know. Is it somehow flawed at its core where you're still overrating who they are?
Right.
Well, so Jerry Jones is now not playing from a position of strength. It's of abject weakness because they missed the playoffs again last year. So he did what he had to do to keep Dak. He paid him the money that you were banging your side of the table for him to pay him. And he's saying, our window is still open because I still have a little cap room to play with. Jerry, I don't know, are you going to wake up and spend it or not? Because it's the options are dwindling.
It rolls over. So they accepted it in 2022.
Okay. But I still like their chances next year if you could beef up the defense with what you have left of free agent, as he calls it, pie. And yet he's saying, maybe Jaylon Smith could give me one more 2018. Maybe Zeke could have a bounce back because his best buddy Dak is back in the saddle. Maybe Zeke will rise to that occasion because Dak will be around more. Maybe he can snap him out of it. Maybe he can get Zeke in better shape.
You covered this game 40 years. What do you think?
Okay.
How many backs have you seen have down year, and then pick it back up? Running backs.
All I know about, you're exactly right. Nobody. No, never ever. Okay, all I know is his yards per game have declined every single year he's been in the league. Ezekiel Elliott. Now, the first three led the league in rushing, but they were still creeping down.
Right.
And then all of a sudden we went precipitously down to last year was career worst.
Right.
He will give you a flicker occasionally, and I'm not talking about a flea flicker. I'm talking about a flicker of what used to be.
Correct.
You'll see it and you'll say, oh, there he is. But it won't last.
Right.
He can't sustain it. He never looks in great shape to me. He waves out of so many, I'm gassed. I just ran 30 yards. I'm gassed. You got to get me out of here. Get the kid in here.
Right.
What? It's the opposite of what Eric Dickerson did.
Right.
I think he's the greatest runner, contributes here on our show.
Right.
And Eric, if he ran 30 yards with the ball, he won it again.
Well,
and
that's
again,
what most running backs, because they figure, I got you where I want you now.
Yeah, okay.
You tired too.
Yeah, because I earned the right to get this ball in the end zone.
Correct.
Okay, that's how you should be built, and it's not how my guy's built. But Jerry's saying, our window's still cracked open next year. We still should win this division. So I need Zeke to bounce back, and I definitely need Jaylon Smith to figure it back out.
Okay, but Skip, if he bounces back then you can pick up his salary. You didn't need to pick up his salary before you saw if he bounced back. So you on the hook now, Skip, for 12 and a half.
On Zeke?
Yes, for Zeke.
You could have triggered the right to cut him after next year.
Yes.
But Jaylon could have been gone now.
Right, because if Zeke comes in, he gives you 1,400 yards, okay, no harm, no foul.
All right.
But what happens if he gives you another 1,000-yard season?
Yeah. Jerry is way too close to both these players.
Yes, that's always been his.
They both have become like sons to him.
But that's always been his problem, Skip.
And we had Jaylon on the show at the Super Bowl. Remember this? Mm-hmm. Gave me some nice sunglasses.
Yeah.
We all got some.
We all
right?
did, yeah.
He's a good kid. He's still a kid to me. Good young man. Let's go that far. And I like his spirit and I like his aura. He's fun to be around. Trust me, so does Jerry.
Right.
What's his production? What happened last year?
That's it.
I mean, I kept saying, that's chicken with head cut off. He's just running around crazy like, is it Mike Nolan's fault? Is it scheme fault?
Yeah. Skip. I had friends.
Yeah.
But when they left and went to other teams, I wasn't disappointed. We still friends. At the end of the day, Skip, I'm trying to win a ball game.
Yep.
I don't put friendship in front of winning, not on the field. We're going to be friends. We're going to hang. We're going to do everything we need to do. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to win a ball game. And I want the best. I want a non-friend if he going to help me win the ball game.
Yep.
That's the way I look at it.
Okay, I got it. So now I have no choice but to root for bounce backs because I'm stuck.
Well, yeah, you ain't got no choice, Skip.
Okay, because instead of seeing my glasses half empty, I have to see it as 9/10 full because that's all I got. What else do I have to cling to?
And I told you that there will be Maylocks in that glass this year.
Okay, well, it may be. But again, I got Dak. The Giants don't have Dak. Washington doesn't have it. Eagles don't yet.
But you ain't got no defense.
Okay, Jerry doesn't care about defense. He's that's irrelevant to him because it doesn't sell.
But you understand that as much as we talk about Tom Brady, you know how they won that Super Bowl last year. You know what happened in that game, Skip. You know what they did to Aaron Rodgers.
It happened in the NFC Championship game and in the Super Bowl. It happened.
Yes.
And that's why Shaq Barrett got paid.
Yes.
And that's why they're going to be really good on defense.
And what did they do? And what did they do to Drew Brees in the divisional round? They picked him off 4 times, Skip.
No, I'll give you that. Shaq he didn't rise and shine.
I mean, think about it, Skip. How many turnovers did they get in 4 games? They had like 7, 8 turnovers.
And all I saw Levante David do something I did not think was possible. And that is, I'm not saying that he shut him out, but on Kelsey, I didn't think you could cover him.
He made it very difficult.
He made his life tough for a whole 4 quarters. Mm-hmm. Okay, that was the key.
I don't get these moves.
Yeah,
I don't.
Well, I got to live with it.
No mercy.
Mike Tyson reportedly turned down a $25 million offer from Evander Holyfield to rekindle their late 90s rivalry with another fight this May in Miami. Holyfield's camp released a statement saying, in part, "We thought this was a done deal, but it quickly fell apart when Tyson's people declined all offers. We were negotiating in good faith all along, and it appears we just ended up wasting our time." So, Shannon, would you watch this fight?
No, you wasted your time. Mike Tyson had made it abundantly clear, Skip, he was not interested in really fighting for real. He said, I just came out here to have some fun, with Roy, it was great. I love him. He loves me. Skip, he had no interest in taking this serious. Holyfield was trying to take this serious. Mike seems to have gotten his life in order. He's in a very good place. His CBD company seems to be doing really well. Yep. Mike has no interest in fighting. Holyfield said in December that a third fight against Tyson is a must for our legacy. Why? What does a third fight do? It doesn't change anybody's perception of what they view you as a fighter during your career. It changes absolutely nothing. No, I'm not watching this. I don't want to see a 58-year-old and a 54-year-old. If I want to see that kind of fight, all I got to do is go to the cookout and somebody go say something that what happened a couple of years ago, and there's going to be a fight. So that's the only fight that I'm going to see is a 58 and a 54-year-old is at the cookout. I don't want to see, I ain't paying to see that.
That's what Snoop said that night.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to call BS on you on one point that you made, and that is, I believe if this did happen, you couldn't help yourself. You couldn't stop yourself. You would watch it.
Skip.
You would buy it.
Skip, Holyfield, 58.
58 years old.
58, Skip.
And he wants to fight for real.
Yes.
Mike Tyson is 54 years of age. And the shock to me is, the stunning part of this story is, he is able to walk away from $25 million.
Yes.
Like $25 million.
Yes.
They were going to fight at the stadium, at Hard Rock in Miami. Come one, come all. You know, like, I don't know how many people they could draw. Could they?
Well, Florida is open for business.
It's open, that's what I'm saying.
How many that's going to pay to attend, that's how many they can seat.
They just might. I would buy it because I'm still fascinated, especially by Tyson. And to me, he took it really easy on Roy Jones Jr. that night. You didn't think so, but I thought he was pulling every punch. When he did throw a couple to the midsection, it was like, whoa, I saw the power. He can still bring the thunder. And again, would I watch it? Yeah, I loved watching them when they were in their prime. So I would accept that they're 54 and 58, but we've changed our fitness levels where I think you can get in reasonable shape and stay. I'll bet Evander stayed in reasonable shape at 58.
See, you get hurt, man. You can't take them punches like you once could. Your reflexes.
Possible.
That's what, Skip.
Okay, but would I watch it? Yeah, I would.
No, I don't want to watch that. I don't want to watch that. Skip, there's two old men beating on each other. Come on, man. Is that where we are?
Two legends. That's where the sport of boxing is, the heavyweight division of boxing is.
Tyson Fury and Joshua.
Yeah.
They gonna fight. Skip, that's a fight.
Okay, that's a fight.
Hopefully we get Spencer and Bud Crawford.
Okay, I got it. I just
not Spencer, Bud Crawford.
Yeah, right.
Earl.
Yeah, I got it.
Earl Spence.
Yes. So I just miss the glory days. And this would hark back to the glory days, and maybe it's just like
the heavyweights don't fight like
nostalgia's sake.
Skip, the heavyweights don't fight like what you saw in the 70s, and Ali, and Norton, and Frazier, and Foreman. That's not it.
I wish I could go back because I didn't even appreciate what we had.
Right.
But it was everywhere. They just fought each other.
Right. The heavyweights fought each other, and then you got the 80s with the middleweights when you got Hagler, Hearns, and Duran.
Right.
In Sugar Ray.
In the old days of the heavyweight division, they didn't haggle over person. They just fought.
You had to.
I mean, Ali and Frazier fought three times, and they were epic.
Yes.
The first one was epic. I would have been good with just the first one.
Right.
And the third one was all time.
And they were, you know, even though they ended up fighting later, but they still was fairly in their prime, even though I think Ali lost like 3 years of his prime career.
He did.
Skip, they wasn't 40s and 50s trying to fight.
No.
Whew. $25 million. Doesn't need it. Maybe I would fight for something like that. Okay.
No mercy.
Well, the Lakers have reportedly been listening to offers for Montrezl Harrell ahead of Thursday's trade deadline. Harrell may be more valuable to the team now as it looks to navigate without LeBron and AD for the next few weeks. But the reigning sixth man of the year hasn't dominated the Lakers' second unit in the same way he did the Clippers last year. So, Shannon, are you surprised that the Lakers are taking calls from Montrezl?
A little surprised, but they need an athletic big man. They need a guard. And he's one of the assets that they have that seems to be willing to get rid of. But I'm going to disagree, Skip. I think he's been as good as I think he's been their he's been their best bench player. He's playing 3 less minutes than what he played in the Clippers, Skip. He was always in the closing lineup. Very seldom do we see him in the closing lineup for the Lakers. So naturally, we expect his numbers to be down, playing 3 fewer minutes and not in the closing lineup.
Okay.
But I'm not surprised because they got to get a athletic big, and they need a guard.
I tried to warn you about this. Montrezl is wide enough, and he's strong enough, and he's tough enough. He's just not tall enough.
Yeah, he's small.
LeBron James can play the center position much better than Montrezl can man the paint because on defense, he just can't stand up to taller players who just score over him at will. That's what caught up with them against Denver when they were up 3-1 in the playoffs. Trez kept letting them down because he couldn't defend a Jokic or anybody with any stature inside.
Right.
So in this case, it's not surprising to me, and it's not because he's a quote-unquote cancer in the locker room, because it did go south in the locker room for the Clippers. That's not that operating
he's been great here.
But you need taller, longer.
Right.
You need to go back to Dwight JaVale. You got to find somebody like that.
Right.
Because that is a glaring weakness on your part.
Well, they got 2 options. They got Andre Drummond and they got Whiteside if they get bought out.
Yeah.
And But they still need a guard, Skip.
Yeah.
I mean, Caruso hasn't taken the next step that I thought he was. He hadn't played as well as he played in the bubble. Kuzma has not been what I thought. We keep saying Kuzma, when?
He has had a lot to say. That is it for us. We are back at same time tomorrow morning while the herd is on right now with Colin Joy. Have a great day, guys.